Maybe. Welcome to the FSF PopCast live show. All right, kids and cadets, welcome to the FSF PopCast live show. You'll see maybe a familiar face, maybe an unfamiliar face to you if you hadn't seen her on our show before. This is the amazing Jenn Lyons. She's a fantastic author who's been here before. We've talked with her about some of their other books, and tonight we're going to talk about her book launch that starts tomorrow. So very excited to have Jenn. I should probably put that up on the screen. There we go. We'll put that up on the screen to remind you that you are in fact watching the FSF PopCast live show. Kathleen couldn't be here tonight. She's a little under the weather. So send your best warm well wishes and all the positive vibes you can muster to both her and Ben's dog, who is sleeping 4 feet away from him and giving the ultimate side eye. So
she's still staring at me.
It's really adorable.
I have no doubt. She has some of the most wicked side eye I've ever seen in a dog. It's amazing.
For context, for those who have no idea what's going on, before we started the show, I showed off how adorable my little pup is. She hates being on camera. Absolutely hates it. She does.
Which is pretty funny to me because it's like she knows that she's on camera.
And she's so photogenic. Yes, I'm talking about you. I'm getting more bombastic side.
Hi, Brandon. And before we get into it, I just want to remind you that, and thank you, because our show is only made possible by viewers like you and our show partners. That, of course, is Bones Coffee Company. If you go to bonescoffee.com, you can use code FSF PopCast to get 10% off of your order. And, yeah, Army of Dark Chocolate. I know I say this every week, but it's still my favorite coffee from them. But Army of Dark Chocolate is fantastico. But yeah, check that out. They got a bunch of really cool coffees spread over. I mean, you can get SpongeBob SquarePants coffee, Star Wars coffee, NBA themed coffees, all kinds of different stuff. So check them out as well. Then Idea Farm, who formerly known as TCTs, where fandom meets fashion. If you go there and use the code FSF15, you will, of course, get 15% off your order. And because I haven't charged my lightsaber, and I'm actually working on a charging issue with the lightsaber with Alan from Level Up Sabers, go buy a saber, but that's my really nice lightsaber hilt. So really nicely made, really cool stuff. But go buy a lightsaber that is, well, better than a stick. So, and you get to work with Alan from Level Up, and Alan is just, he's a wonderful man to do some work with. So yeah, let's see. Get well soon, Kathleen. Absolutely. And chocolate is heaven. So, but yeah, it's really good coffee, by the way. If you're a coffee fan and you like chocolate, try Army of Dark Chocolate. They have one called Highland Grog, which I also very much enjoy. And so if you are, especially because today is St. Patrick's Day, by the way, and if you are celebrating the day of St. Patrick's, please do so responsibly. If you want to go out and have some drinks with your friends, do so responsibly. Call a service, get a ride home, walk home, do whatever you have to do to keep other people alive. Don't ruin somebody else's vibe just because you decided to be an idiot. So, yeah, go have some fun out there, but do so smartly, responsibly.
I will also point out one thing, Tim.
Yes.
Why aren't you wearing green?
I'm Irish. I don't have to wear green.
So am I. I got green. Jen's got green.
I'm Irish. I don't have to wear green. So.
Yes, you do. You know the tradition. You're going to get punched. Come on.
Not really.
Screen. Come here.
Besides which, that is purely an American tradition.
Yes.
See? So, yeah.
But I mean, I also have Irish.
I mean, if it helps you any, I had some Irish whiskey earlier. Does that count?
That'll count. That's enough.
Okay, so all right, and I'll probably have a little more later when I have my when I have my three-legged
Irish
mule.
Irish cider, technically, for monetization purposes, cider.
I like that. Okay, I can hang with that, so that's okay. I had lots of Irish cider today. Oh boy, that's not so much.
I know how this works.
But
whereas this actually is tea, so Sorry, I'm interrupting.
Oh, no, all
Also
good. I'll probably be having a three-legged mule here shortly. So that's if you're not familiar with that, a three-legged mule is basically just a Moscow mule, but instead of using vodka, you would replace it with an Irish whiskey. And so you put your ginger beer, your Irish whiskey, your lime wedge, and all that stuff together, and it is heaven in a glass. Anyway, let's see. Brandon says I posted pictures of my Toy Story characters for my collection. Oh, nice. Yeah, he's got a pretty cool collection. He sent me a few pictures before. So yeah, is that I'm assuming your Instagram channel, Brandon? So whenever you get a chance to respond, we'll move on. But whenever you get a chance to respond. So now, before, when we had Jen on, we had her here to talk about the entirety of her career, how she became a nerd, our standard interview background of the person, what they do, why they do, how they do, all those different type of things, why she has an obsession with dragons and all these different things. And it was a really cool and really fun conversation. You can still find that interview on our YouTube channel and your favorite audio podcast providers, of course. But tonight we have Jen on because, like we said in the introduction, she's writing a news story. And if you haven't seen it yet, there is a full chapter available on, and if you sign up for things, I signed up for the things so I could read the things.
Thank you.
And we're going to have some vocabulary lessons in a little while so I can pronounce a few things that are in the first chapter to make sure I'm understanding it properly.
Oh boy.
But
well, it's a book I wrote, so makes sense.
Yeah, it's more fun that way.
This is why I love either just one, reading on my own, or two, audiobooks. Because then when you're reading it and you don't know how to pronounce a thing, you can just say, yes, this guy and
right?
Completely.
Yeah. Audiobook will just tell you the name.
I was like in the first 3 paragraphs, I'm like, we'll go with that pronunciation. Okay. So but this book is called Full Negative. So Jen, take it away for a moment. Tell us about Full Negative, what's going on with it, and what people should be looking out for.
Well, a lot of people actually are very surprised to find out that my first writing love was not fantasy, it was science fiction. And in point of fact, when I think I may have even talked about this, I don't remember if we talked about this in the first interview or not, that the first book I ever wrote was on a dare, right? Somebody dared me to write a book.
I do. Yeah, I think so. I think we did talk about it.
Yeah.
Either on camera or off camera, but I think we definitely talked about it.
And that was the ancestor of this book, right? Like,
okay.
So I went back and I pretty much, because, lockdown, right? I went back and I just tore it apart and reassembled it as something I liked better. And that's what this is. So, I mean, it's kind of, when I make the statement of it's like Star Wars meets X-Men meets Jason Bourne. The Jason Bourne part of it is very much like the plot. You have, somebody who is, she's discovered that there is this assassin who's running around killing important people, and she's got to stop him very fast before he, opens up this Pandora's box and restarts all of this nastiness and everything else. That's the super quick description of it. The less quick description of it is about this society that is in absolute turmoil because humanity has been, for well over 100 years, has been ruled by these aliens that came in and took over. And out of nowhere, they've been fighting this rebellion. They've been, trying to defeat them. And out of nowhere, the aliens just kind of go, "Oh, we're gone. We're leaving. Peace treaty. We're out," with no warning and no logical reason for them to be doing this. And so all of these different groups of humans that had previously been focused on trying to push out the aliens are suddenly having to deal with how do we actually form a government and, actually manage to be stable and deal with each other, because they're now discrete cultural units that don't necessarily get along, but were united against a common enemy that has just said they're out. So
yeah, the bane of all rebellion is when you win.
Right. The bane
you gotta actually do the thing, and you're like,
Right. Yeah, you have to actually, govern. It's much easier to fight the war than it is to actually deal with providing stability afterwards. So, so the main character is this woman named Mallory McLean, who was previously effectively like a secret agent. I mean, that's she was with the rebellion, with a group called Intelligence Operations, had been with this group. Her primary job was extraction. She would go in and get people out of places, mostly prisons, but anytime somebody was in trouble, her job would be to go in and get them out. And now she's not going to be needed for that anymore. Like, she doesn't know what to do with herself. Okay. And so, I mean, it's not that she's kind of just that she's out of a job, but that she's literally known nothing else her entire life than fighting. This is that one of those vocabulary words I'm sure you're going to want to ask me about, the Sarkodine. She's never known anything else than fighting the Sarkodine. So yeah, she's got a lot of stuff to work out.
That was the big one.
I always love that concept of having, like, what is a warrior without a war? Like,
right. Yeah.
What does that? They have the huge personal arc of just trying to rediscover what they are and who they are and what they're intending to do. I just love that. As I don't want to call it a trope, because it's not really a trope, but it's that archetype of the warrior without a war.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been very interested in transitional spaces, right? I always think those are really interesting for storytelling. And so for me, for this story, while there's a lot to tell about the rebellion and everything else that happened during that time period, to me, the really interesting part was right in that balance point, between. And so that's what became this story. But then it also, like I said, it has also got all kinds of other shenanigans going on. So it's very much not just like a normal sci-fi or thriller, kind of political thriller thing where, we've got to, Day of the Jackal, we've got to stop this assassin. It's not quite that. Not just because there's spaceships.
Okay. I did like that, like the first chapter, like I said, there's the chapter that you get, you can go out, and if you follow the book launch and everything, you'll be able to get the first chapter and you'll be able to read along with it. But what I did like about it is I felt like when it started off, I felt like it just jumped right into the story, and you're already immersed right there. And you do a really nice job of not only just jumping right into the story, but I felt like it starts right away with wrapping the world building around that character from the very first couple paragraphs, and you start getting a concept of where they are and what's going on, and you can almost visualize it in your mind as you're reading this. Them sitting at that diner and everything that's going on, and just kind of sitting there and lighting up their cigarette and getting in trouble for it. But it's a very cool concept to me, because I always worry about that now, because we've talked about this before with other people, that I'm not always the world's biggest reader. I like to listen to books more than I like to sit down and read, because I always feel like I get more out of them when I sit down and I listen.
Right.
But with this book, right away, just able to jump right in, and it grabbed my attention immediately, and it made me want to read more. And I was a little unhappy that there was only one chapter, but I understood why there was only one chapter. So, I
mean, hey, launches tomorrow.
Launches tomorrow.
Go to your local bookstore. There you go.
I mean, no, because this is a crowdfunding launch.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
So it will not be in local bookstores tomorrow. I got to really emphasize that. This is going to Backer Kit and saying and making a pledge. And if
Yes.
we make our funding goal, then this series happens. If we don't make our funding goal, it doesn't. So there's a trick there.
Which would be a shame because I will be donating money tomorrow. So
I literally just got paid, and so far my wife has read 3 of your books. So this is going to be one of many, I assume.
Yes.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. Thank you very, very much. And tell your wife, please. Thank you. I'm glad she's.
I
glad
think she's
enjoying them.
actually at work. I think she has this pulled up on her on the work computer, just kind of like off to the side. Hello, my wife.
Hi, Mimi. So, let's see. We got a comment here. I moved you up to the top, Jen, so people can still see you and they don't need to see my face. So, Jen, who is your favorite booktuber? Just kidding. Serious question.
Yeah.
Do we get a Claw Talon type character in full negative, or does Mallory fill that snarky, deadly role?
I think Mallory fills that role. There is. I mean, again, there are certain tells in my stories, and I freely admit those tells are there. So, at some point you'll probably encounter a shape changer because that's how I roll. You'll probably encounter some sort of deep, dark family secret that nobody wants to talk about. You'll probably encounter, there's just certain things that are probably going to be there, but there aren't any. This is a very like tightly focused story compared to a lot of my other stuff. Honestly, it takes place in a very short period of time, and it's really very much about Mallory trying to do this one thing, trying to stop this one killer, and in the process opening up a whole can of worms she's not ready for, but nonetheless. And I'm not going to answer that booktuber question because that's a trap. And I know that's a trap. I have a lot of favorite YouTubers.
Which kind of on a similar line to that question is, when you're writing, do you have like almost like a checklist of things that you're like, oh yeah, these are the things that I always put in every book, or like
not at all.
Accidentally do it?
Yeah. It just in my head, it's always like, oh, well, what if they could do this, and then afterwards I go, I made another shape changer.
It
okay.
So it reminds me of the skit of the guy who's trying to come up with original music, and he keeps playing the major chords of like really popular songs.
Yeah. No, it's one of those things that were like, it bothered me for like, I don't know, a couple years, and then I just kind of went, what can I do? It's just I'm gonna be who I am, and apparently those are things I like to talk about. So I don't know why I like shape changers so much, but apparently I do.
Because they're cool.
Yeah. There's but there's nobody who has like specifically a Talon or Claw role as a secondary character. Mallory is starky as hell, so she's got attitude problems. Ask anybody.
I live for the snark, so that's good. Okay, so let me ask you this, because you mentioned like you all of a sudden you have this shape changer written. You're like, oh, I wrote another shape changer. Oh well. Now one of the things I loved on the listing page for this was that you said something about and there's even a dragon. Well, not really, but if you squint, maybe.
Oh yeah, I'm also very curious about that one.
Well, yeah. I mean, there is an alien creature that gets called a dragon, but it really is just a side mention of something off in the like it's just the barest of, it's like a couple sentences. So there's something in the galaxy that gets called a dragon that exists. I'm going to spoiler that.
So kind of like, I mean, it could be as simple as like a bearded dragon. They're still called a dragon, but they're,
I mean, I know what it is, and it's not a fantasy dragon, but it's scary. Okay. So,
All right.
But
all right. So
yeah.
if this if you reach your crowdfunding goal
Mm-hmm.
and this
Not
series
if,
comes to fruition.
when.
Okay, good point. When you hit your
When.
crowdfunding goal, because we're going to share this out, and I'll have you when we're done here. I'll add it better in the notes than I have right now because I was going to ask you for that. Send me. I know I have it somewhere, but if you'll make sure that you send me the correct link, that way everybody has the correct link. I will put that in the show notes for everybody to make sure that they can find it, they can look for it. But when you hit your series funding amount, and this goes out into the ether for everyone to enjoy, will this also be an audiobook thing where
Yes.
folks like me will be able to sit down and listen and enjoy?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I have absolutely had friends over the years. I will never ever knock anybody who prefers audiobooks. I have had friends who, just flat out had dyslexia and could not really, it wasn't comfortable, right? They wanted to read these stories, or they wanted to experience these stories, but so if I can make sure that something is an audiobook, I absolutely will do so. Now,
my
very
ADHD
likely.
thanks you.
Sure, yeah. My ADHD understands. This is probably going to be an author read audiobook, but I don't mind doing that. That'd be fun. I've never done that before.
Well, if you need help, I volunteer my services.
Thank you.
So,
I mean,
I would love to.
It definitely has a face for radio.
Since it is also.
Oh, look! Unfortunately, Ben had to leave for the night, so.
I got put in timeout.
Yeah.
Hang on, I'm gonna go face the corner now.
No, I was just gonna say it is one POV, and that's Mallory's. So, that also works.
That's cool. That's cool.
I told people I could do just one POV, and they were like, "I'm not sure that's true." I'm like, no, it's true. It's really true. So, despite my fantasy books might have a bunch of POVs at times, but this one just has one.
Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, no, it's actually really funny. You were saying earlier that that the first chapter just kind of puts you right smack in the middle of it. There's a story to that, which is that at one point that was actually chapter 3.
Oh.
And
okay.
Yeah, and
it piques my interest. Continue.
Right. And a friend of mine was reading through it, and she sort of casually was like, "You realize that's your first chapter, right? It's not this thing over here, it's that." And I thought about it, and I was like, you're right. That is actually the first chapter, because it's just a better start to everything that's going on than what leads up to it. So.
Grifkin says, "I know you shouldn't trust links in comments, but I promise that is the link for Jen's backer kit. I have it ready and waiting to toss my money at it." Okay. Yes, put it in the comments, man. I haven't seen it yet, but
he made that comment about YouTubers, because he's one too, and I've been on his channel. So
oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to our nerdery, Grifkin. I don't think I've checked out your channel before, but I will now.
He does a lot of really cool author interviews.
Oh, awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. Well, even more reason to check him out. Very cool. Yeah. Like, I know I had the backer kit link somewhere. It shouldn't be blocked. I can see it, but I wonder if moderation is blocking it. Maybe.
It might be an auto mod, yeah.
It's got to be an auto mod, because I moderate the channel, so live while we're doing this. So I'm not really sure what's going on. But
well, Tim figures that out.
We'll get it. Well,
I'll tell you what. Discuss amongst yourselves something else about the book. I'm going to find the backer kit link. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Which that actually brings up my question of, you said that this was originally chapter 3.
Yeah.
Are those original first 2 chapters still in the book, just like moved around?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Did they just kind of get like 3 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it was much more interesting to see the fallout first, and then go through what led up to it. And then,
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Instead of like that actually.
Yeah, and I've had a lot of. I mean, my personal feeling, and a lot of beta readers have backed me up on this one. Hopefully, everyone else will too. Is that that it's particularly good because by the time they get to that point where they've caught up, they forgot what theoretically was spoilered in the first chapter, right? You have this thing that is coming up, is going to happen, and then when it actually does, most of the people have actually forgotten that was about to happen. Oh crap!
Well,
everything's about to fall apart.
I find that a lot of the times, especially in a brand new book and universe and series and whatnot, that the first chapter, people immediately dive in, suspension of disbelief. They're just anything you tell them. They're like, yep, that happened. Yep, that is correct. You could say anything, but without the context and the weight,
right?
It's just very hand wavy of, yes, this thing happened. Cool. Next chapter, let's go.
Yeah.
So I think that framework of see what happened and then tell what happened prior.
Yeah.
It's a very good system to get people really digged in, because then you catch them in the first and then you explain everything after. So they're already trapped in there for the exposition that's going to come.
And I mean, I realize I tend to write in a very cinematic fashion. And that's a very common thing. That's a very common technique. But I like it. So I'm not inclined to change that. Yeah. No, I think that that worked really well, and it was just a much better place to enter into, which is why I was like, yes, hell yes, let's put up that first chapter for everybody to look at, because I think it's a better hook.
So here's the link for Back Your Kit, and I will put this down in the show notes down below. It is also it should be a clickable link in the comment section here on YouTube. So that is a trustworthy link. I guarantee you it's going to take you to her Back Your Kit. It's not going to take you to some weird website asking you for your social security number. Maybe, I don't know, but no, it's not going to do that. It shouldn't, but it should show you. No, it won't do that. But it'll show you the full negative cover and your opportunity to sign up so you can stay, on date with all the progress that's happening. And nice explanation of the book, what's kind of happening with it. And then there's the link right there for the preview of chapter 1, which is a lot of fun. And it gets you very much in the mood for the book and what's going on. And please check out the chapter 1. Or chapter 3, as you may see it, but it's a whole heck of a lot of fun, and you do really just jump right into the story. And if you need further convincing, each faction in this world has their own mascot, not a mascot. They are mascots.
Mascot.
Look at these goodies.
How have I not seen this page yet?
Look how
Tim,
cute
you
they
sent
are.
me so many links for this talk today, and you didn't send me this.
I did not send you this. I wanted to save this for tonight.
We're not friends anymore. Please leave. You are no longer part of the podcast.
A good friend of mine fosters cats for the local Atlanta Humane Society, and so these are all cats that have come through her care and have since been offered up for adoption. And she crochets, so she makes them adorable little hats.
Right? Yeah, black cats get a bad rap. Yeah, this is actually very true. I had a black cat. His name was Vader, because he was all black, white box on his chest. He was a bit of a butthead, but he was my butthead, and he was very loving for me. So, but yeah, orange cats are interesting. But if nothing else, check out the names on these cats. I absolutely adore these names. Squeaker Catbell represents the Dome Dwellers. Mallory McLean, the League of the Free Worlds. Bloody Pester is a pirate for treats, and Zoomer Zaitsev, from the Wild. that is just Zoomery Zaitsev.
Yeah, my
Absolutely
husband
love these
actually,
names.
my husband's responsible for all of that, and he give credit where it's due.
That's fantastic. Well, jolly good show to your husband for coming up with some great names.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
Look how
yeah,
cute
no,
they are. They're just so
they're
cuddly.
they're just so cute. So what we're gonna there's a couple things we're gonna do. One is that so Backer Kit lets there be teams. So when we actually launch, you will get the option to sign up to be part of a team. You get to choose which one of these cats you want to follow, and whoever
me and
gets the
Lowry.
most votes, and by votes I mean buys the most stuff, that's how we accumulate votes, is going to get some custom merch just for their team. So
Awesome.
That's how
Love
that's gonna
that.
work. And then I mean there's just a whole bunch of stuff, right? Like, so I mean that's the thing. This is a world that I have been developing for longer than my fantasy stuff. I
Okay.
have so much stuff that is just kind of waiting. So one of the things that I wanted to do is, if we can make it for a stretch goal, is I actually do want to release a settings kit, a settings guide that has like a lot of this information, because it's massive. And I mean, I'll always be a nerd at heart. So, to me, just
Fair.
the idea of, sure, let me share this with you, is a thing I really wanted to.
I 100% understand and very much
Yeah.
love when authors do that, because then when you have the settings kit, when you have a book of everything that happens in the world, that opens up for so much role playing. You can put that into any TTRPG system and just run with it. I love when people do that. It's so great.
Yeah.
I also understand, as I'm a dungeon master for like 4 different campaigns, the amount of times that you have just tomes of lore that you've built and you want to share it with everyone, but the only people you can share it with are the ones that are currently playing, and you don't want to spoil anything.
And you can't share it with those people. Yeah.
I have so many things right now for my characters that I'm basically shaking them like, I can't wait for you to find this, but I can't tell you what it is.
I agree, Brandon.
Absolutely.
I absolutely agree.
One more comment here from Griffin. He said Jen would have named them Claudia, MDK, Razor Talon. And I'm not even going to try
whatever that one is.
Yeah, no.
I got the Zyman flow. I got the Zyman flow, but past that, I'm
Zyman flow Fidile Didalius, right? Zyman
sure.
flow Fidile.
It's I think that's a comment
sure.
about some of the dragon names in Sky on Fire.
Yeah,
maybe,
possibly.
But
to infinity
yeah,
and beyond.
so indeed. So there's a lot of history that has definitely gone into this story. And people have asked, is it a standalone novel? And the answer is, well, we got to crowdfund it first. But also, even besides that fact, this story is self-contained.
He just kept typing.
Fair enough. Kept typing stuff.
I mean,
this story is self-contained.
Honestly, you could have been copying something, and I never would have thought of it.
But the universe is large enough, and there's enough stuff going on that yes, I would like to write more books in the same universe. I definitely would, but only if people want them.
Well, the nice thing about stories like this, as other space operas have proven, is that if it's open enough, there's opportunity for these things to branch out and tell other stories and go other places and do other things. And so I like the fact that this is, I've always been more of the space opera leaning of the sci-fi branch than the true hardcore space sci-fi. Because
kind of, yeah,
it's always been more relatable to me, always been a little more human centric. as far as it's more, it's focused on those things instead of the hardcore. I mean, there needs to be some science in the space opera, but it's not typically where I have to get out an old science book and go, oh crap, what are they talking about? What the heck is that thing? And where you could make something up in a space opera and call it a thing, and everybody's like, yeah, we're cool with that. That's fine.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, this is the book I ever researched. I do have to caveat that. I mean, it was my first book. I was 25. I didn't know what I was doing. And I probably spent like 3 years, something ridiculous like that, like epidemiology and quantum physics and M theory and nuclear. I mean, just all kinds of stuff that was not necessary to research. But I thought it was. Also, maybe I just wanted the excuse to look into those things, but
fair enough.
So there is a lot of science in the book, but I just made a point of like not shoving it at anybody.
So it's palatable.
Yeah.
I do find that that's one of the major curses of sci-fi, is either you go the more Star Wars route where it's very like hand wave science, or you're in Star Trek where either it's complete and utter nonsense, or it is way too complicated for the average person to understand. So you're just throwing gibberish at them. And a lot of the times I've had to try and get friends into Star Trek well over a dozen times because they start talking about quantum neutrinos and everyone's like, nope, I'm out.
I mean, to be completely fair, I think that well, I mean, quantum theory is difficult to wrap your head around. I mean, that's just the truth of it. It's difficult for anybody to wrap their head. It's difficult for quantum
hello, Crusher
quantum
combo.
physicists to wrap.
We mentioned Star Trek and they appear.
Sure.
Did someone say Star Trek?
And yeah, so this is not as much of, there's telepaths in this book, right? Like,
Okay.
right there, you can, that I'm not going for hard science because that's a hard one to justify with, quantum entanglement can only do so much. So yeah. But yeah, there's just a lot of fun things in here that I want to share, and I really like the story. I'm biased, I realize, but
that's okay. It's good to be biased.
You like your own story? Who would have thought?
Yeah, who would have thought? It's so weird. This, speaking of Star Trek, though.
Oh boy,
this book. There is a bit of Star Trek inspiration to this book, namely the economy. Which,
okay.
Griffkin's already heard this because I yammered about this on his show too. But I really wanted the aliens to not have what we would consider to be like a capitalist economy, right? I wanted them to actually have an alien economy, and this kind of fed into a thing that we talk about it all the time with Star Trek, right? How does the economy work? And because the more you think about that, the more you just kind of go, no, really, how does that work? So I came up with how it would work, except I very quickly realized that what I'd actually come up with is how the economy would work in a Federation style universe, in the mirror universe, because it's completely evil.
Yes.
100% evil. So I'm really excited to share that bit of stuff with everybody too. I don't think there's a good version of it for the normal Star Trek side. I still have questions about that.
I think the only major like economic thing that they had to change in Star Trek was with the Ferengi with gold, where they were like, why do they care about gold if they have replicators and can just make gold?
Yeah,
and
let's talk about gold pressed latinum. Let's talk about gold pressed latinum.
Yeah, they had to make it about latinum and just be like, they can't replicate that. The gold is there to keep it together. It's like, really? That's what you were retconning? That's what we're going with here?
Yeah, fun fact. So
Send it, Brandon. Sorry, just real quick. Send it, Brandon.
sure.
Go ahead.
I also, after Brandon's question, my wife has texted me a question that I need to ask, which I don't know if we've already gone over or not, but actually, while we're waiting for Brandon's to...
Oh, here it
never
is.
mind.
You guys think about having Kari back on? He's talking about Kari Wahlgren, voice actress. Yeah, I actually would love to have Kari on. She's done some really cool things since we've had her on last, and she just won an Emmy, I do believe.
Oh,
So,
wow.
So congrats to Kari on that. And yeah, she's an amazing voice actress. So yeah, I would love to have her on again soon.
So what was the question?
I think that was...
Oh,
I think
okay.
that was
No,
it to ask about Kari.
Okay.
Oh, for my... this is a question for Mimi, my wife. She's... I don't know how well written this is, but she's asking if there's going to be a written guide for the ring situation, like what you have in The Sky on Fire. If there's going to be something like that in this new book.
That is actually one of like the most common questions I get asked about The Sky on Fire is, am I ever going to write up a ring guide? And that for people watching who have no idea what I'm talking about here, in the world building of The Sky on Fire, everybody in the Skylands wears these rings, and the symbols on the rings, the different whether it's a specific plant or animal or whatever, gives this wealth of information about not only the person's preferred pronouns and gender, but their dating preferences, are they available, are they happily married, are they married but still in an open relation, like the whole thing, right? There's just this wealth of information, including, no, I'm not interested, go away, I don't want to talk to anyone. And it all kind of gets treated equally, right? Like there's no single this is normal, because it's just this huge mishmash of different options.
Yeah, there's no like standard for the...
Yeah, there's no one thing. There's this combination of things, and everybody's different. So it was
the
something...
most complicated mood ring I've ever heard of.
This comment's killing me.
It's class rings on steroids. The problem, of course, with coming up with a single guide about that is that I would basically have to be making it up from scratch, because the plants on that world aren't the same as the plants on Earth. Even if I have called them similar names, they're not the same, because it's not Earth.
That's fair.
Since the humans that are on that planet were from an Earth-like planet originally, they have, like, we're going to call this flower a rose. It's not what we recognize as a rose. So it would just be a huge undertaking to try to do it, and also to try to do it in such a way that you could very quickly look at the rings and know what they meant. Like, even in the book, they sell guides. They have like little guides that that you buy to look up what things mean, because it's not expected that you're automatically going to know.
Oh no.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, hey. Hello, Mimi. She just tuned in as you were answering the question.
Hi, Mimi.
But I think the continuation is there going to be an equivalent of that in your new book?
No.
Is there a need for that with the new book?
No.
Okay. Well, that makes sense then.
So the thing you have to understand is that the aliens, the Circodinae, who do look humanish, and I have believe me, I'm not just doing an automatic, it's easier on the makeup and special effects budget if we have them look human, so therefore we're going to have them look human. I'm not doing that. But they're awful. That just has to be stated, right? They're really, really awful. And one of the ways that they are awful is what to human experience would come off as prudery, right? Like, they have very, very strict rules for sexual behavior. and everything outside of that is verboten, right? Like it's all forbidden, and it all kind of gets grouped into the same level of bad. So it's not a case where the Skylands were really very, very progressive about that, and these guys are not at all. So yeah.
All right. I do want to share this just real quick because we were talking about Star Trek and horrible name dropping, plugging, because I can. Just as a reminder, April 3rd, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to have a special appearance by John Billingsley and Bonnie Gordon, both here on the FSF PopCast, to talk about Trek Talks, Star Trek, and a few other fun things. Trek Talks is a annual telethon that supports the Hollywood Food Coalition. We are very proud to be Trek Talk ambassadors for this. And but yeah, so tune in on April 3rd. We'll have more information coming up here shortly. But Bonnie Gordon confirmed this afternoon, and she's going to be on the show as well. So Bonnie Gordon, and Bonnie is the voice of why can't I think of the name of the ship from Star Trek Prodigy? But she's the voice of the ship on Star Trek Prodigy. Where's my comment from Jesse? Pressure Convo. Correcting me.
Get in the comments. Get in the comments. Roast this man.
Yeah, my brain just went completely blank. And then, of course, John Billingsley is Dr. Phlox from Star Trek Enterprise. So, and just all around awesome feller. But yeah, April 3rd, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And back into Full Negative. Protostar. Thank you.
Protostar.
Yeah, so I actually have a little tea to drop on that, which is not on this, not on what you're talking about, just Star Trek. Because I'm going way back to the whole Gold Press Platinum thing, which is
continue.
So I actually dated the son of the director of the first episode of Next Generation. And so if you've ever thought it was that the Ferengi looked kind of goblin-like, that was not a coincidence.
Yeah.
Absolutely on purpose.
Yeah.
They weren't supposed to be goblin-like. They were supposed to be a little more scary. And Richard said no and made them goblin-like. So
there's a lot of things like that in Star Trek. I mean, the original Klingons, you could look at them and go, "Oh, that's a horrible stereotype. Cool.
Yes.
Thanks."
Yep.
And them hand waving that, being like, "Look, it's a redesign because all of them got sick at the same time, and this has also always been part of their culture."
Yes, absolutely. Always. So yeah, no, but Ferengi, absolutely Dungeons and Dragons goblins. So
that was the thing that always confused me, is in the very first season of Next Generation, they kind of like hand waved why the Klingons are different. But then also in the same season, Worf talks about how the ridges of a Klingon are seen as a great honor, and his son in later seasons actually has like a casting of the ridges on his head. Like, if you're telling me that this has been a recent development in the past like 10 years, there's no way that there's this much cultural significance behind that.
I've always been amazed, and this is just true of science fiction in general, the hoops that we will jump through to try to retcon things, to try to have things make sense. When sometimes it's just like, guys, we didn't have the budget back then, or yeah, there were some terrible stereotypes that were being used, and now that's not cool. And you know, it was what it was.
80 years, man. 80.
Oh my God.
Oh, less than 100 years for a species that can live significantly longer. It might as well have been less than a decade. That's like if saying the 90s, everyone was wearing denim jackets. That's like in the year 2000, making it seem like George Washington wore a denim jacket.
Yeah, he absolutely did make that joke. I remember it. Where We don't talk about those things.
They did make a joke in DS9 where Worf said it was a dark time for
Yeah.
them, and they don't talk about it.
Mhm.
No,
Oh, God.
we don't talk about those things.
Exactly. We don't talk about this.
So
Ah,
so yeah.
okay.
But I likened it more towards Star Wars just because there's more of like an evil empire thing happening, and
Yeah.
saying it's like Star Trek but mirror universe probably doesn't mean as much.
No, but it gets the point home, especially for those who are Trek fans. Crusher Convo was very excited about that. They're like, mirror universe, yeah. So that
It's
means
also when it comes to
everybody has goatees who is evil.
on the same kind of like vein of retconning. I think Star Trek. Sorry, not Star Trek. Star Wars does it a little better, where they don't retcon it. They just make 5 whole seasons of a TV show to explain why it's that way.
Because the
mean,
only answer to Star Wars is more Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Star Wars though is that even more so than Star Trek, Star Wars is just folklore.
Yeah.
So the stories aren't going to match. They don't have to match. It's fine. It's fine, right? It's
Well, and
it's
that's what I like about it.
Star Wars.
We're very well
And
aware
that's-
that the narrator that is giving us this perspective of Star Wars is not a reliable narrator.
No.
Right. He's had a a few Irish ciders, so and he's just
But I mean,
just
it's not.
kind of
It's
making
not
it
even.
up as he goes.
It's not even one narrator, right? Like it's
Right.
Mhm.
it's
No.
very clearly this collection of stories that have been gathered, and just like if you go back through, your Greek myths on a more
Oh yeah.
you're just gonna be like, well, this doesn't make sense, and this doesn't make sense, and according to this story, Dionysus was born this way, and according to this story, Dionysus was born this completely other way, and according to this story, there was Zeus Mpreg going on. So what's the one that's true? And the answer, of course, is that it's folklore mythology. That's all true.
But one of the nice things about a space opera, though, and one of the things I look forward with your book, Full Negative, is that once you do move on past the first, because this will launch and it will be wildly successful, and we will get a whole series. Is that once that
We're gonna
happens,
be trapped in this for decades now.
I won't regret it.
Is that space opera, I think, has the ability to be able to adapt those stories and move a little more loosey-goosey, whereas a true sci-fi, again, going back to the science, it has a little rougher parameters that it has to stay into. But a space opera, on the other hand, has the ability to have different points of view and different people telling the story, and whether they're a little green guy drunk on Irish ciders or whatever it may be. I'm going to keep saying
Can't
Irish
tell if
ciders
you're talking
because, by
about
golly,
Yoda or leprechauns.
yes.
Yeah, to your point, it's very much when it comes to like the space opera, you could almost color outside the lines, basically. Because there's always the power of legend where someone shows up and goes, I was actually part of the hero's journey and of the grand destruction, blah, blah, blah. And that's wrong. What you know about it is wrong. It actually happened this way.
Right.
And that's a very easy just hand wave. This is better now.
Right. And
Right.
and this is a story that very much has a lot of just buried in its bones, unreliable narration as a core device.
I like
But
that.
what I mean by that, to spoiler something, is that all of the humans, actually all the Sarkodini too, just all of
You have your earbuds in. You can't.
a certain sort of people in the Sarkodini Empire, and actually first chapter 1 goes into this a little bit, are implanted with what's called a reality lens. And a reality lens is it's a bio-nanite cluster. It attaches to your auditory and optic nerves, and it allows them to interrupt and change the signals going in and coming out as well. So they can monitor what you see and hear through this, and they can also change what you see and hear through this. And
Interesting.
they will do this for a couple of different things. One, of course, is good old-fashioned Orwellian. We keep track of. Yeah, it's a control
the walls
mechanism.
have ears, and it's also the people around you.
Yeah, in this case, it's
Right,
not even
right.
just the walls have ears; it's that you have ears, and everyone you know has ears, and it's a
Yeah.
problem. And the other thing is that everything in the empire operates off of score, and your score is based on all kinds of things. It's based on perceived biological fitness by their standards, by a very specific set of rules, testability, again, by their definitions, behavior, perceived competency. It's like this whole range of things. And the higher your score, the more benefits you unlock. So it's not a matter of, I have enough money to go to a fancy restaurant. It's, if my score is high enough that I've hit a particular rank, I get to go to a fancy restaurant. No
Okay.
money changes hands. It's just where my rank falls.
So it's almost like a space opera version of the caste system.
Oh,
A little bit, except much more rigidly enforced, because and
Well,
also
sure,
much
sure.
more mobile, right? Like you can go up or down. It's not
Right.
something that is, it's not a, you were born into this family and so you're forever going to be this caste. It's, you could theoretically work extra hard and be extra nice and do all the things you have to do and make your way up to a higher rank because of it. You can also fall in rank for various reasons. Usually, I mean, the biggest one, of course, is that you are not doing what you're told.
It's almost like it's like a caste system, but with like a credit score.
Yeah, a little bit. That's
like that.
That's an interesting, that's a better way of looking at it.
I'm trying to remember. There was like a Netflix show that had a very, I don't want to say same, but a similar enough preference.
Well, I mean, as people have pointed out, there's things that are similar to this happening in the world today.
Yeah,
that are really
right
happening
now.
Right now.
The privilege, you happened to be born into good credit kind of a
No,
thing.
No. I mean, there are places in the world where they are literally tracking a score based on a bunch of different things, including, and that is determining a lot of things. So that's actually happening. It's awful, but
not scary at all.
But then in the empire, if you were to let your score fall below 0, because there's nothing stopping that, then at that point you get a different classification and you basically get sent off to a work camp where you probably die. Again, these are not good guys. These are bad guys.
Yeah, no.
Very much bad guys.
Yeah, very much so. Okay.
And I promise there's a point to all of this. Yeah. Very very low score people are
they don't even get to go to Dollar
General. But I mean, it includes things like literally how well you see. Right,
okay.
Like the lowest scores, your vision is you exist in a Minecraft universe, right? Like it's not even it's not even a matter
texture packs.
Yeah, it's you get more benefits and you will literally see and hear nicer things if you're higher in rank. But all right, back to the negative thing. If you are negative and you get negative enough in your score and you are basically not cooperating with the go off to a work camp and die thing, then the Sarkodine have a different label that they will slap on, which is full negative. And full negative means they stop
the title.
Yep. And that means they stop keeping track. They stopped keeping track and they just start trying to find you to kill you. They start actively hunting you to kill you. Because you're a threat to the whole empire at that point. Like, this is like not even most rebels get labeled full negative. It's the really, really top guys that get this lovely little, we're actively sending people to kill you. Now, the people that they're actively sending to kill you are a different group in the Sarkodine Empire that are called, well, their technical rank term is Ceres. No way, not important. They get called void raisers. And they're actually the other group out there that doesn't get their score checked. They have no score. Their score is technically
make sense.
Their score is technically negative, right? Because they don't keep track of that. They have no rank, they have no entitled rights, they have no privileges. And conversely, they're some of the most powerful people in the empire because they operate by the will of the emperor. They get to do whatever they want in his name. So
that does make a lot of sense, given that probably killing people might reduce your score a little bit.
Probably.
But if that's your job, it would make sense that they would just kind of hand wave it and be like, you get free reign. Go on.
Yeah, you got to be outside the system for that to work. So they are outside the system. And so that is something that comes up in the first chapter. But the whole conversation that, for spoiling, not going to spoil that. But there is a conversation that happens that talks about that.
Okay.
Is that in the first chapter?
Yeah.
Or is it later on? Okay.
No, that's
everyone go read it. The first chapter up.
You
go
can
read
find it right there.
Back.
At that link.
Yeah. So
back the book.
I think I can spoil this one. This is not that big a deal. Is that, like I said, they have basically these giant AIs that deal with all this information that they're giving and receiving from people who have these reality lenses in their head. But if you're a void raiser, you get edited out. So people often can't see you. Like, you're just invisible. Which is, just the thing that you would want for your secret, horrible
police force.
Assassin police force is that normal citizens just don't even get to see you. So.
That's crazy. The idea that you can be a certain rank, that you are undetectable by normal or just by anyone.
Oh yeah, no, and it gets even on that side of things. I, as a particular rank, would be able to. One of the privileges I might have is changing how lower ranks see me.
Oh, you can give yourself like flair or like.
Yeah, if I want to have
aura
like,
around
whatever.
you,
right, or really cool like neon decorations or whatever on my skin, or if I want to be like, oh no, I want these people to see that I'm a blonde, or whatever, you can do that. That's absolutely.
I would be the worst. I would start walking around appearing like a biblically accurate angel. It's like 30 wings and a million eyes.
Yeah.
Be not afraid.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No. Absolutely. Except, of course, I imagine they have rules about that because, of course, they do. They have rules
why
about
wouldn't
everything.
they have rules
They're
about
awful.
everything, so.
They're awful.
Yeah.
I would get to that rank to change my appearance and then immediately lower down because of what I would do with it.
Now, these rules are, at least the one thing I can say, they're consistent. Right? Like I mentioned an emperor, that's based on score. That's not based on, like there's no hereditary.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, like it is consistent. It's just, of course, that just as in the real world, you can say that everyone has an equal opportunity, but do they really? Because depending on where the situation in which they're raised,
right,
there's going to be privilege and access that rich people are going to have that people who start at the bottom will not have. So
right, lower scores wouldn't get. Yeah,
right. So it's
very
it's
cool
not,
concept. I like it.
Yeah, I obviously am very attached to the idea because
I like it. Yeah, I'm excited about it. So now this goes live tomorrow.
Yep.
The backer. So And we did put the link in there, guys. Make sure you go click the link back to the book. Go check that out. There's a lot of cool things, and you get to vote for cats. I mean, come on, we showed you the cats earlier. Vote for the cats.
You get to vote for cats.
Mass cats. Yes,
Yes.
exactly. Back it so I can read it. I'm excited about this. I want to hear it read to me, so hurry up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I have a bunch of different stuff that's going to be available. I did the art for all of it. So
I'm excited.
I'm
excited. Really, truly, honestly, I am very excited about this because
yes, the cover too.
It just feels very much in the lane of something that I would wholeheartedly enjoy. So I'm very
we like similar things, and you know, very much
almost like we're all nerds.
Yeah, we're all nerds.
Who'd have thought?
You know, and I've put a lot of the stuff I like into this book. So
can't wait, honestly. If you guys don't back this enough, I mean, we're gonna back it. I'm gonna throw some money at this thing. This thing needs to get off the ground. I swear to God, I'm gonna come visit you at your homes.
I just got paid. I'm putting an amount that is probably more than I should, but I want this book to happen. So
yeah.
Well, there are some really cool things that you can get. There's some. It's a traditional crowdfunding, which is that there is some stuff that I don't expect anyone to get because they're just so over the top. But they're available. They're there.
You never know.
If you never know. But there are some very cool stuff that's going to be available. I mean, in very limited quantities, you could choose to just get every single one of my books, hardcover, signed and autographed by me. You know.
I really hope Mimi is not watching live anymore, because I have a feeling that's going to be the tier we're getting.
I was going to say that one just happened, so
I
won't send her that. I won't send her that audio clip at all. I won't send her that audio clip at all.
Don't you dare!
Don't. I don't want to
rent due.
I don't want to cause any marital strife. But yeah, no, there's definitely some cool different versions of it. There's going to be a trade paperback version. There's going to be a hardcover version. There's going to be an extra deluxe hardcover version. Nicer
Does that one come
paper.
With cheese?
It comes with nicer paper and cover and stuff like that.
Geez.
And then of course, you know, there's me going, also make the stretch goals because I want to do the setting guide.
Also, Griftkin, it's with the eyes.
Yes. So I was leaving that up on the screen long enough to make sure you saw that. So as we said earlier, when we first started this whole thing out tonight, guys, we've interviewed Jen before. We've talked about her balance of other books and her career and her road to nerdery and all these different things. And it's a really fun conversation, as we've had tonight with a really cool author with some really cool stuff. Please back her books. Please go check her other books. You can find those on her website. You can, of course, find them on every major book retailer, things along those lines. This one, though, Full Negative, is only through the backer kit that's going to go live tomorrow, and you guys will have an opportunity to check that out. She also has a YouTube channel, though. We're just going to highlight this very briefly. She has a really cool conversation about the Fellowship of the Ring. We talked about a little bit about this in our interview with her, and we need to have her back. We keep saying that we're going to do this, but we have not done our next incantation of the Lord of the Rings conversations that we had. Life kind of happened to all of us, and we had to put some projects on the back burner for a little bit. But that one, talking about Lord of the Rings, needs to come up here soon, and we need to have Jen come back for that.
I need to finish the next one is what I need to do, because I got more stuff to talk about. The second one is where I absolutely go into tactics and strategy, and how Tolkien was actually amazing at it. The
way he wrote battles was, he could have won a fight if he wanted to.
All of the tactics
Very
that
tactical.
in Two Towers is just like really, really amazingly well done, and I have a problem with what the movies did with that, because
real quick before we fully end, Jen, I have a thing that I need to show you. I call it my dwarf hammer. And
Okay.
I need you to come up with a name for it. Give me 1 second.
Well, while he's getting that real quick, I'll remind you guys that last week, Wednesday, we released our interview with Dan Madsen. Dan is the founder of the Star Trek fan club, official fan club. He's the founder of the official Star Wars fan club. He's worked with many other fandoms, Back to the Future, Lord of the Rings as well, some other things out there, and just really, really cool guy. And I just, if you saw a post on social media from me last week saying that ever have an interview where it makes you think or contemplate, or conversation with someone that makes you contemplate what you're doing and why, this was that interview. I had just an amazing chat with Dan. He's very inspiring. And now he's working with Ashley Eckstein in her for her clothing line called Her Universe. He's an amazing publicist and marketer.
Ooh.
And just really cool stuff. And we talked about how badly I wanted some of the stuff that was in the Her Universe designed only for women. But now there's a men's line in Her Universe. So it's like, is Her Universe or his universe? Anyway, but just go check it out. Really
I
cool.
think the her refers to Ashley.
It does. I was just being a smart ass. I know it's hard for you to understand it or believe that I would ever be sarcastic or smart ass about anything.
A smart ass?
Shocker.
No.
I too am impressed that I was allowed to do that. But then coming up this week, Wednesday, is our interview with voice actor Elijah Mountjoy. He's an actor, he's a singer, he's a cyberpunk fan, and he has a really cool band called Main Chain. You can check out their music. He's the voice of Winter Soldier and Marvel Rivals, and Kurt Hansen from Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty. So if you ever played that game and you hear the bad guy loud voice over the speakers as you walk through the town, that's Elijah. So anyway, but yeah, that will come out Wednesday, and you guys will be able to check that out as well. All right, Ben, dwarf hammer it up.
So, I built this specifically with the intent of very much having it be a weapon for a dwarf.
Okay.
I do LARP, which is live action roleplay, and this is
wrong button.
Oh, Tim, what have you done?
I did the wrong button. I was
This
trying to
thing
do the
is
thing.
like 15 inches across and roughly a foot wide. So what kind of a dwarf warrior, what would they name their hammer?
How big are the dwarves in your universe?
I mean, the handle's only this big.
I mean, I would need to know. You can't just ask me a question like that. I need to know, like, what the culture of your dwarves are, and are they just
Imagine just
Tolkien,
like
or
just Tolkien. Just imagine that like one of the dwarves with Bilbo had this hammer. What would they call it?
well, then it's probably going to be something in the right language, and it's probably not going to be something that's just like Doom Crusher, and I don't know the language off the top of my head, so
That's fair.
but
It's
I mean,
always fun
this is
put
the whole
people
reason.
on the spot.
This is the whole reason why I start off a new fantasy book by writing up a bunch of languages, is because to name stuff, purely to name stuff.
Here you go, Ben.
Heavy bastard.
Go grab the heavy bastard. I have skulls to crush.
Honestly, sorry, Jen. I think you just
No.
got beat out on that one.
I like heavy bastard. That's good. Yeah, that's strong.
And especially if you say it with a little bit of an accent. Go grab the
Get me
heavy
the heavy
bastard.
bastard.
It brings a
Dwarves
certain
aren't
love
Scottish.
to it. Brings a little love to it.
Oh, I just went with gruff.
Gruff is
So,
fine. That's not what Tim did.
That's not what I
No.
did, but yeah. Go grab the heavy bastard. So yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, Jen, thank you so much for being on the show tonight. This has been just
Yeah.
a ton of fun for us.
Lovely having you again.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. That's the show for tonight. Like I said, there's the link. Go click the link, do the thing. You guys she writes really cool stuff, and this is a really cool story that needs to really be shared. And frankly, I just want to read it. So make it happen. Tim had saying Petty State Dwarfs.
But that. I do already have a Mjolnir. It's a smaller one.
He does. Oh, hey, me too. But hold on a second.
Everyone have a lovely St. Patrick's Day responsibly.
Yes.
Tiny
Party responsibly. Enjoy your time responsibly, because we want to see you here on the next live.
Exactly.
And
go have fun. Have your drink, but do it safely. Okay. Don't be a
bye,
dick.
everybody.
And on that note, my little green guy, he says goodbye.
He's dead.
Oh, that's right. He is dead. Okay. Yeah, I lost a character in our last RPG. He's dead. That was Farmer Ted. Farmer Ted is now Farmer Dead. So, on that note,
goodbye, everyone.
May the force be with you as you continue to live long and prosper. Goodbye.
Bye.
Copyright 2025 FSF PopCast. Reference any specific product or entity mentioned on this podcast does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by FSF PopCast. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. If you have any questions about this disclaimer, please contact us via email at info@fsfpopcast.com.